Welcome to the Prospective Doctor podcast, brought to you by Med School Coach. Each week we cover topics related to the pre-med journey to medical school and beyond, from the MCAT to completing your application and from starting medical school to choosing a specialty. Our podcast will provide essential information for anyone contemplating a career in medicine.
Hello everybody, my name is Spencer Evans. I'm a first-year medical student at the University of Colorado, and I'm a contributor here at Prospective Doctor, and I am here today to give a podcast about how to stay on top of your game during quarantine. And because I'm a first-year medical student, I think that a lot of this can be helpful for other first-year medical students, but it can also be helpful for you pre-meds out there, as well as second years who are currently trying to stay on top of their game as they're studying for STEP, and possibly even some third and fourth years who are currently in quarantine and not able to be out there on your clinical rotations right now. So I'd like to just start by addressing some of the challenges that a lot of us are facing in quarantine right now. And that's this, of course, there's a lot to deal with in regards to the actual virus, COVID-19, and the disease. But what I'm talking about is the challenges associated with staying productive during quarantine, because we're all surrounded by so many distractions, whether that be roommates, family, friends. We've got our phones on us 24/7. We've got the TV. There's a lot of anxiety about what's going on out there. And it's very challenging staying focused and staying productive. And you can very easily end up in a spiral of sorts where a lot of time goes by and you get nothing done, and boom, you have an exam and you fail it because you haven't been putting in the amount of time that you're normally putting into. And that has happened to multiple of my classmates. And not surprisingly, it's the ones who have admitted to being significantly less productive during the past few weeks of quarantine. So I'd like to just talk about some strategies that I've utilized to stay on top of my game during this quarantine period. The biggest one is a simple one, but probably not one that a lot of people are doing, and that's making a schedule. Every single night before I go to sleep, I'll make a schedule for the following day and do my best to stick to it. I'll try to get my 8 hours of sleep, going to bed at 10 and waking up at 6. As they say, early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. So if you just try to stick to that schedule and do the things that you put into the schedule, then you'll end up being much more productive. And another pro tip is to divide your days into hour-long segments of work assignments and switch it up every hour. So from 10 to 11, watch a lecture. 11 to 12, review a previous lecture, looking over your notes. 12 to 1, do practice questions. Stuff like that keeps things fresh, and it allows you to stay focused. Other strategies that you can employ to stay productive during quarantine is to do virtual study groups with your classmates on Zoom. This is something that I've done with a bunch of my classmates. Every day at 5 p.m. we will Zoom one another for an hour and do practice questions together, and it's a great way to get social connection during this time, and also hold yourself accountable to do work. And in regards to the amount of time that you're dedicating to work per day, ideally you want to stick to around 8 to 10 hours. I had a meeting with a learning specialist at CU before quarantine about learning strategies in general, and she mentioned a lot about how humans are most productive if they are working for that amount of time period per day. So if you can schedule 8 to 10 hours to classwork per day, then you will be probably the most productive if you stick to that time limit. And in regards to where you're doing your work, I'm a little bit guilty of this, but I've noticed that I am far better able to pay attention to the lectures or the work that I'm doing if I'm just not doing the work in my bed, which is really hard because when you wake up and it's early and you don't really want to do that much work, it's very easy to comfort yourself by saying, oh, maybe I'll just lay in bed and watch a lecture on my laptop and I'll just breeze through it. But unfortunately, it's not the most conducive to paying attention, especially because we all have so many mental associations with being in bed and sleeping. So it's easy to become tired and not really pay attention. It's best, in my opinion, if you go into the kitchen or in your living room or find a desk somewhere and do your work there, because then you're able to get kind of treat it sort of like an office or a coffee shop and get your mindset in a different place than one that's associated with sleep, and you'll be able to concentrate better and as a result be more productive. Another thing that I definitely recommend is something that my school has done, which is establish families of sorts, where we've had, they've given us families with 2 first-year medical students, 2 second years, 2 third years, and 2 fourth years, where we'll check in with each other once a week on Zoom and just see how we're all doing and talk about anxieties or stressors that a lot of us are currently dealing with. And it's helpful to have some sort of continuous structure in place where you can really vent about what's going on in your life. And we have a text group also where we text each other about once every couple days, just with an update about how we're doing or a place to send funny memes. And it's a nice resource to take advantage of if you can. Definitely recommend that. And another thing, when you're doing work or trying to stay focused, it's best if you don't check the news. A lot of what's going on in the world is terrible, and it's really sad and it's scary. But in terms of what's going to help you be most productive in that particular moment, it's not going to be checking the news and seeing what the current infection rates are and how many deaths there are in the United States right now. It's terrible, but it's unfortunately not going to help you if you're just being quite anxious about that. And it might sound selfish to say, but the reality is there's not much that a lot of us can do besides stay home. And if there are ways for you to help, of course, please do that. But I think just knowing that it's okay to accept where you are and that the best thing that you can do right now is do everything in your power to stay sane and do well in school is okay. And it's all right to try to just focus on your immediate surroundings, which is just waking up and doing work and spending time with your family or your roommates. And it's okay to just focus on that and not focus as much on the news. And some other stuff that I've been doing to try to keep myself sane, and keeping yourself sane, of course, helps in turn with productivity, is develop some new hobbies. Take advantage of this time to take up something that has always interested you. For me, I'm trying to teach myself how to animate. I found a new program through Adobe that'll allow me to create these cool little cartoons, and I feel like that would be a fun skill to learn, and that could be something completely different for someone else. But I think now's a good time to take advantage of that. And another thing that I would recommend is trying to do a fun activity that doesn't involve screens. My roommate and I have started playing a lot of backgammon, and that's been a lot of fun because it doesn't involve a screen, and a lot of the escapism that we are... Sorry, just taking a quick drink of water. But a lot of the escapist entertainment that we have these days is TV, because we're not allowed to go outside. But if you have board games or anything like that, definitely take advantage of those. It's a very nice break. And in that same vein, make sure you're exercising to release those endorphins so that you can stay focused. Try to run outside if you can, do push-ups, sit-ups, all that jazz. And if you are able to go outside, I've really started to enjoy just taking a 20-minute walk and going around my block. Practicing social distancing, of course. But if you are able to go outside and just take a quick walk and clear your head and enjoy nature, then definitely do that. And that'll all help. And the reason why I'm talking about all of this stuff is to emphasize that just like in actual medical school, it is so important to maintain your mental health in order to be successful in your studies, because it is so challenging as it is to be successful in medical school that it is of the utmost importance that you maintain a balance in terms of your mental health while you are a student, if you hope to be successful in medical school. And just going along those lines, definitely you want to keep eating healthy and staying in touch with your friends and your family, FaceTiming them, calling them, talking to them on the phone, anything you can to keep your head in a good place during this tough time so that you're able to focus more in school. And one last thing I'd like to talk about is motivation, because a lot of my classmates have talked about how they don't have motivation, and that's the driving force behind the reason why they're not doing as much work. And because they're not doing as much work, they're not performing as well as they'd like to be on their exams. So I'd just like to share what has been motivating me the past few weeks, and the reason why I think that I am currently still passing my classes is because I have stayed motivated. And I'd just like to say that if you're in medical school, don't forget why you're studying what you're studying. If you're a pre-med right now, don't forget why you're a pre-med and want to go into medical school. And for me, I've realized that unlike every other profession in the world right now, the medical professionals are on the front lines of this fight against COVID. And for me, that is a huge motivating factor for engaging in this content that I'm learning and really trying to learn as much as possible so that one day I can be the one who's out there on the front lines and really helping people. So I hope that was helpful. And if anyone has any questions or wants to talk further, please definitely reach out. Thank you.
Our mission is to inspire, encourage, and inform students as you journey through a rigorous and intricate process of achieving your dreams in medicine. Visit us at prospectivedoctor.com and medschoolcoach.com for more essential resources in your medical school journey and beyond.